Good afternoon. My name is Rosenstock. I'm a specialist in vet policies and systems with the European Training Foundation. And I would like to welcome my guest, Mr. Emil Asgarov, a national expert who worked on the EU project support to implementation of NQF in Azerbaijan. We will be discussing the process of piloting the validation scheme in Azerbaijan. And thank you, Emil, for sharing your experience with the participants of E-Academy on apprenticeship and RPL of ILO. Okay, so maybe the first question, the RPL, the validation in Azerbaijan has been piloted in the context of the reform of qualification systems in Azerbaijan. The system of RPL is under development, and we know that the regulation has been passed only recently this year. Emil, can you give us a general overview and introduction about the context of the validation in Azerbaijan?
Good afternoon, Maria. Thank you for your invitation. Well, VNFIL as a concept was included in the strategic roadmap for vocational education and training in 2016. It was adopted in the end of 2016. And discussions and developments of the rules for recognition and assessment, which is what we call validation of non-formal and informal learning in short in Azerbaijan. Well, discussions started in January of 2019 last year. And our project was a part of these discussions throughout. Well, during the discussions, the ministry decided to take the assessment route, which is, I think, is used in Slovakia and Romania, which means that instead of recognizing the evidences that are provided by the candidates themselves, you are producing evidences through the results of assessment of knowledge and skills. Well, this is the path that the ministry took, and right now the agency, Education Quality Assurance Agency, is providing the oversight of the process. In the end of this agency was established in the end of 2019, and in the statute it was said that they will oversight the process. In August 2020, this year, the rules of assessment and recognition were approved by the Cabinet of Ministers of Azerbaijan, and according to these rules, the recognition process is carried out by the agency. So it was officially given to this agency in August of this year. And who can become a candidate in this process? According to the rules, if you have finished the general education, which means the 9th grade in Azerbaijan, at least 4 years ago, or complete secondary education, which means the 11th grade, at least 2 years ago. And if you have at least 2 years of work experience in the relevant field, then you can apply for assessment and recognition. And according to the rules, you can get a certificate for partial recognition of the qualification, for example, for 1 module or 2, or you can get a diploma for a, which is an equivalent of IVET, Initial Vocational Education and Training Diploma, for complete recognition of the qualification. So if you take all modules, then you get a diploma. If you take some of the modules, then you get a certificate. With this diploma, you can continue your education in the next stage of vocational education. Next stage is technical vocational education. Or if you want, you can, of course, go on working in the relevant field in the future. The process of assessment and recognition consists of 4 stages, which is registration, initial review of provided documents, assessment of knowledge, skills, and competencies, and certification as a last stage. Well, registration is clear to everyone, so a candidate applies for the process. Then initial review of documents provided means that the agency reviews if the person have relevant education, which means that I finished 9th grade in 4 years ago, at least 4 years ago, or the 11th grade at least 2 years ago, and if they have relevant experience. This is reviewed through education documents that are provided by the candidate, photo evidences of their work experience, if they have any, and written explanation of the works they have carried out. Samples of works could be another part of evidences, and all these, and if they have any other legal documents, they can provide these documents, and the agency will review these documents and decide if they qualify for this process, for the next process. Then within 30 days, maximum 30 days, the agency reviews the documents, and then they decide whether or not a candidate passes to the next stage, which is assessment of knowledge, skills, and competences. This process is carried out by the Commission, consisting of 3 members, representatives from the, of course, Education Quality Assurance Agency, representative from the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, representative of the Employers Association. And the member of the representative of the agency is seen as a head of the Commission. And also, if the Commission wants, they can also invite an expert with at least 5 years of relevant work experience, and they are planning to have a pool of experts, and these experts are chosen from this pool. Then this process of assessment consists of two parts. First part is assessment of knowledge, which consists of multiple choice questions for each module. You choose to be assessed for. 10 multiple choice questions are asked for each module. If you answer the questions, at least half of the questions correctly, then you pass to the next stage, which is assessment of skills and competencies. By the way, these results of this knowledge assessment is valid for 3 years. So if you don't pass the skills and competence assessment directly, then you can still use these results of knowledge assessment for another 3 years, if you wish to. Skills and competences are assessed through practical examination. Again, it's foreseen by this commission and expert. And if you also pass at least half of the marks, 50% of the marks, then you get certificated in the next stage. This is the process itself as a whole.
Okay. And can you tell us what was the role of the project? How did the project support the system, the building of the system? I know that the project supported in principle the piloting also. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yes. Of course. As I said, the discussions started in 2019, but the project itself started in 2018. So during this, until these discussions, the project developed concept paper for VNFIL, which included the aims of recognition, visions of VNFIL, implications, stakeholders, and gaps. So this concept paper acted as a starting point for the discussions for the project and for the country. At the same time, the project developed comparative analysis of EU country experiences in VNFIL. It also included like national approaches to the validation, which countries have what kind of approaches, validation outputs, who are the users in Europe, basic features. This is 4 stages of assessment. and who are the main stakeholders of the process. And project also had a direct part in discussions with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection and VET agency, and as well as the discussions of the rules themselves. The project organized 2 study visits. Well, after it was clear that the country has chosen this assessment path instead of validation path, the project arranged a study visit to the country with an identical system, identical approach to validation, which was Romania. The first study visit was arranged in July of last year, 2019, for the management of the ministry. It was short but very comprehensive study visit. The members, the participants of the study visit were Deputy Minister of Education and Head of the VET agency and Head of then Accreditation and Notification, now the Education Quality Assurance Agency, which is now taking care of the process. The agenda of the during this study visit, the agenda was that we met with the National Center for Technical Vocational Education and Training Development. Then we met with the Ministry of National Education. We met with the Agency for Quality Assurance in Pre-University Education. And other two main visits were, one was to the National Authority for Qualifications, which is foreseeing the qualification of assessors in the validation system in Romania. Also, for the practical stuff, we met with the Association Back to Work, which is then one of the biggest assessment centers in Romania. So after this visit, we decided that together with the participants, we decided that we'll have another visit to Romania, especially to the Association Back to Work Assessment Center. Then this was planned as a part of the training for assessors, which is one of the main contributions of the project to the piloting of the system. Well, after in July of last year, together with the VET agency, we decided that the piloting will be carried out in one of the vocational education centers in Baku, and 2 qualifications were chosen for this piloting. One was barber, another one was cook. Luckily, both of them were available in one vocational education center in Baku, so that was the venue we chose. And starting from September last year, we started with the trainings for both for management of the vocational education center and for assessors. Well, in September, we had a training batch for both management and assessors. The main topic was VNFIL as a new concept, as it was quite new, and then we didn't have even the rules, the final version of the rules. We were working with the draft version of the rules, and we explained what is VNFIL. We introduced the draft version of the rules and stages of assessment, what we were expecting from the education center, vocational education center as a piloting venue, what we were expecting from the assessors. So we explained all this in a 3-day training quite thoroughly. Then after that, we continued our trainings with 5 assessors. In October, we had a 2-day assessment, 2-day training, sorry, in October, end of October last year. It was for 5 assessors, 2 of which were barbers and 3 of them were cooks. During this first training for practitioners, our main topic was development of subjective questions, so multiple choice questions or open-ended questions. It wasn't clear which one will be chosen as a final version, so we chose both of them. The main topics of these trainings were that we are assessing knowledge, but we shouldn't only assess the recollection as Bloom's taxonomy. We shouldn't only test the recollection, but also the understanding of the topic they have, if they can apply. So it's one of the challenges we have, that most of the multiple choice questions tend to go through to the recollection end, that they are trying to see if you can remember the knowledge. So this is one of the main challenges we had to work on, and that find a way to test ability to analyze the situation. So then we gave quite thorough information about the shortcomings of multiple choice questions and how to avoid them. For example, not to use negative questions, and if they use negative questions, it could be a tricky. So make it quite underline that it's negative, so the candidate wouldn't be tricked to the wrong answer. And we made sure that all assessment criteria in every module, every learning outcome is covered in a test bank that we are going to create. So for this reason, we gave them a template where the assessment developers would give information which module is question covering, which learning outcome of that module, which assessment criteria of that learning outcome this question is covering. So this way we could map every question at the end and see that we are covering the whole module in total. As a result of this 2-day training, we had another 3 months, so November, December, and January. During these 3 months, our 5 assessment developers developed 10 questions each every week. They would send it to the project, and we would review it together with an international expert, review each question thoroughly, and if we have any additions to it, we would make, and then we discuss it. So this mentoring process continued during these 3 months. So it's not a 2-day training, so it's two days plus 3 months process. Then in February, in the beginning of February, we had another training for practical assessment, assignments for practical assessment, how to come up with these assignments. Our main aim were that we would make these questions or assignments valid, reliable, transparent, accessible, and manageable. Which means that validity, when we said validity, it's clearly linked to the learning outcomes that we have in the curriculum. So it cannot be some other topics. It cannot be what is not taught in vocational education. So you would have only what is in the document. So reliability meant that we did everything we can to limit subjectivity and variation of assessment. So everybody knows that what is being assessed and to which end they are being assessed with. Then next point is transparency. The what and how of the assessment is clear to everyone, and how it is assessed, which points do they get for answering what. Then accessibility meant that if some of the persons have disabilities or anything like that, then we would make sure that they can also have accessibility to the assessment. And final point, manageability means that if we are assessing with some resources, these resources should be available in all assessment centers throughout the country. So if something is being assessed, some resources are being used in Baku, then it should be used in a furthest end of the country as well. So we had to make sure that we have this. For this reason, we again came up with a template for assessment developers. This template consisted of 4 main components. Instructions for candidates. These components were instructions for candidates, instructions for assessors, assessment recording, and records of links to learning outcomes and assessment criteria. So instruction to candidates is quite clear to everyone. Here it says that what is the task about? The direct text of the task, what we are expecting them to do. So there should be nothing unclear to the to the candidate. So when they read this task, they should know that okay, what is expected from them. The time frame we have given them, in which time frame they have to prepare this task, and marking how it's carried out. So the candidates can ask questions, for example, can ask for assistance. We would make sure that if they ask for assistance, first of all, they know that they can ask for assistance. And if they ask for assistance, how many points will be deducted from them? And for example, how many points will they get for which task? And how many points will be deducted if they avoid any of the steps? So everything is clear. And as a final, we would give them what are the passing requirements for the test, for the assignment. So how many points they have to pass. The second part of the template was instructions for assessors. This is a quite very important part of the template. Again, here the text of the task is given very clearly. Then preparations and resources are given quite clearly. For example, before the candidate enters to the assessment room, let's say, a workstation, assessors should know that what they have to prepare. So what resources they should have there. Of course, then again, time frame is given there. How many minutes are the candidates expected to carry out these tasks, and instructions again for the assessors. The same points as we had for the candidates. How they can assist the candidates. How many points should they deduct if they assist? What kind of assistance are they not allowed to give? So everything is quite clear here. And the third point is the assessment recording. Here it's also very clearly said, saying that for this task, if they carry out these steps this way, then you give, for example, 10 points. Then if they avoid this step, then you deduct 2 points from them. So it's very clearly given to the assessors to avoid any kind of subjectivity at the maximum level. So that was our aim. Well, then the last point is again for the mapping of learning outcomes and assessment criteria of the that are related to the task. This is again we created this practical assignments so that it could cover more than one module. But if a candidate wants to take one module, not another, then assessors can reconstruct these assignments in a way that fits their goal. Well, this was the main topic of our training in February. Then again in February and March, we worked together with the assessors, assessment developers to develop these assignments. And in February again, we had second study visit to Romania for assessors. Again, here we had members from Education Institute, Vocational Education Agency, and of course the main agency, the Education Quality Assurance Agency, participated in this training. But our main goal was for the assessment developers, assessors. They visited National Center for Technical Vocational Education department in Romania, and they visited Economic College Ion Ghica and College Spiru Haret. One was for barbers, another one was for cooks. But the main part of the study visit, of course, was the training in the Association Back to Work Assessment Center. The training, it was a 3-day training carried out by the head of this assessment center, Andrei Pitioris. And during this training, they covered topics such as selection, recruitment, training, deployment of assessors, assessment process itself, general framework, methods, instruments, elaboration of assessment instruments, and assessment process in practice, observation, case studies, etc. So it was a quite thorough training, 3-day training in Romania as well. As a process, in total, we would say that it's 11-day training, but the mentoring process itself was carried out during this 5 months. So it's November, December, January, February, and March. And during this time, our assessment developers developed 250 objective questions for each qualification. So we have 500 question test bank available right now for the agency that is going to use them. We have 12 practical assignments. Each of them cover multiple modules. And as I said, it's reconstructable. If you want to assess one of the modules, then you can change it in a way. Well, this was the process that the project assisted the process of development of this system in Azerbaijan.
That was a good detailed description, and I think very valuable information. What does it take to actually prepare a quality process for assessment? Did the participants, the trainee assessors, face any particular challenges during the training?
Yes, the main problem, especially for one of the qualifications, we had the assessors with mainly academic background. So for them, it was a bit difficult to come up with the questions, especially for knowledge assessment, to come up with the questions that are directly related to the world of work. So this was one of the challenges. So and that's why it took a longer time to develop these questions, and we had to work together and come up with the solutions for these problems.
Okay, and what do you think will be the next steps in further implementation of this system in Azerbaijan?
Well, right now, the Education Quality Assurance Agency is continuing with the process for assessment and recognition. To my knowledge, they have already done one piloting for recognition of drywall construction qualification. And well, the process is going on. But one of the major challenges I think the agency will face as well, and we had to face the same problem, and it was that the curricula for IVET is more academic, so than practical. So which is which creates difficulties for candidates. But the candidates are coming from the world of work. They have more practical background. They don't have the academic background. So if you have the questions that are more academic, then of course I don't think many of them will pass, especially the knowledge test. So they can pass the practical test because they know what to do and how to do it. But it's difficult for them to pass the knowledge test if the qualifications are more academic than practical. But the process of adaptation of curricula of vocational education to the needs of world of work is continuing, and I would say that it's continuing in a good pace right now. So I'm sure this problem will be solved in a close future.
Okay, Emil, thank you very much for your time and for sharing the experiences, and
thank you.
And good luck with your next future assignments.
Thank you very much, Maria.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.